Welcome, everyone, to Austin by Starlight, Episode 8. Last we left off, our coterie mates, Pax, Yvette, Alistair, Deja, and their guest, Gregor, had all kind of parted ways for the night to pursue some personal errands. And with some surprising events going on during the midst of all of it, the coterie has again collected itself on this new night. And so, while they may have been pursuing some of their own personal matters, it is perhaps time to get down to vampire business in some respects. This evening, Deja and Gregor are hard at work sealing up the little basement hole that had been dug underneath the house. And upon covering it up from the outside and creating a sort of trapdoor hatch inside, they are now in the process underneath the house of possibly expanding some of this space, making sure not to collapse the house from underneath it. So the two of them are working diligently in the course of this new evening, which leaves the other three members on the ground floor of the house, possibly hearing some of the scraping and digging going on beneath their feet in the living room here. But before they get down to business, I'd like to hear some thoughts from our coterie mates. Alistair, you recently had an interaction with your sister the previous night, where she had been in a car accident the night before that, and upon last evening, before she really went to sleep, you had a conversation with her. Why don't you give us some idea of why it is you had that conversation in the first place, and what you intend to do tonight?
Well, there has never really been any secrets between me and my sister. We've always been rather close because of the environment we grew up in. I have always been protective of her, and I, well, quite frankly, wanted her to know some things. That would make me happy to do so. And tonight, I think I will go make sure that she's settled in, has everything that she needs. Though it will probably be an ordeal.
Yes, she does live at the family home still. The home which you dread going back to anytime you do.
Yes, but it
Fa-
can't be helped.
Father just doesn't seem to get it, does he?
I'm not sure what he gets and doesn't get, but I don't understand the man sometimes, and sometimes I understand him all too well. It is frustrating dealing with him.
Like father, like son, is it not?
Unfortunately, I have to take after someone, though I do strive to improve in some of the ways he deals with things.
Being better than one's parents is sometimes the goal of some children, and others would just rather say, fuck it, I'll be myself. Doesn't matter if I'm just like them or not. And then we have Pax, our lovely Malkavian. Some would say a lunatic who hears voices on the wind, but
Or here's the smell of pineapple. Look, last night was something else between talking to Gregor and getting what information I could out of him, and then dealing with Yvette and her side. That was an interesting situation. I had wanted to check in on Alistair last night, but I really didn't have a chance. He's still, I think, dealing with whatever personal situation that Gregor mentioned the night before last. But as always, well, as for the last few nights, I'm still a little concerned with what's happening with this Della Rosa fella and setting up for the meeting with Boss Hernandez. That's going to be playing a lot in the back of my mind as I deal with everything else. And now with the timing of Yvette's sire coming to the city, talking with Baron Kane, something smells fishy. Something smells real fishy. But at least this could be a good or a bad thing. At least Yvette's sire seems to be now entirely focused on Yvette. Maybe it's something we can explore. We'll see.
or it might even be a monkey wrench. Depends how you use it. And Yvette, you've had some exciting news over the last night, and some odd news, to say the least.
Very much so. Dale had proposed, and it would seem that my masquerade would end up making me a stepmother to Chris. I must admit, I am more than pleased for the outcome, and it would have been more joyous if it were not for having to end up seeing Jacques and Monsieur Kane in the same restaurant that we were. Suffice it to say, it was not my proudest moment, but I made the most of it. The things I do to preserve one's masquerade. Unfortunately, I had revealed perhaps too much to Mademoiselle Cosetta, but I could not end up trusting myself around Monsieur Lacroix, as it would have caused many complications, especially when it ended up coming to his need to remove me from the Anarch domain. I have no doubt it would take little more than a few choice words to end up doing so. At least with Mademoiselle Cosetta there, I could make the option more difficult and perhaps more trouble than it was worth, and in that it was a success. Unfortunately, the stress and the emotional turmoil that had taken its toll due to the events of the evening, riding the highest of highs and lowest of lows, I had confessed to Mademoiselle Pax my situation, and it has left me a bother. And when I ended up thinking about it on the way home, I have to consider that I am not the only one in the coterie with that in mind. I considered Mademoiselle Pax's bond to her boss, Monsieur Hernandez, and to Alastair, his bond with his sister. Means that I have to end up looking into them, for they may be as weakened as I am, and the weakened Cotteret leaves us vulnerable. And with Monsieur Lacroix amongst the city, that means a great deal of problems. I also end up worrying more than anything on how this may develop further on. I am unsure on how this evening will end up continuing on, but there are things that I must end up getting acquainted to. For the most part, I will assess my coterie and try and end up finding where I may be of use.
Finding finding one's place in a world in which you shouldn't exist, but you do. Well, that is always tricky. But, with that being said, this is a new night, and so I would like the three of you to make rouse checks for starting this evening. Each of you, that little voice in the deepest parts of your being scratches and toils and groans in hunger. Your bellies feel emptier tonight than they were last night. The vitae in your veins feels thin. Most would probably consider you in a state of dinner. Dinner sounds nice. Not like that ash steak that you were eating last night, Yvette. No, you want something rare and juicy.
I am more cautious in order to end up being sure not to overdo it this time. I still feel the need to assist Mademoiselle Pax in her own dilemma, but at the very least, the risk is solely upon moi, and that will be enough. As far as Monsieur Knight, I do not end up knowing of any dietary constrictions for himself, and that ends up meaning that it is entirely upon him.
Indeed. But you all have collected together, and as Gregor and Deja toil underneath the house, it leaves the three of you to decide what it is to do with your evening.
Monsieur Knight, I am curious. Are you doing well, given the recent circumstance?
Hmm. As well as can be expected, she is making a good recovery. I am thankful that I got a text that she was sent home this morning.
Très bien.
She, right. I had been meaning to ask you about that.
Ah, you did not hear. My
Well, I
sister,
mean, go on.
my sister was in a car accident last night. Or not last night, the night before.
This was the night before, yeah.
Oui.
Yeah, the night before.
My condolences. She's doing
Yeah,
well then.
she's a little banged up, but the worst of it is over, I think.
So was it just an accidental, or was there more involved?
Hit and run.
To catch the bastard?
Not that I know of, though I wouldn't mind trying to catch him myself, but I do not know how we would even accomplish that.
If you want, I can stick a word in some ears.
I would not want
Mademoiselle,
to put you out. It is.
Mademoiselle Cosetta, I would advise caution. To be asking of such things also implies the natural asking of why would you need to know? And that in turn adds more complication than one might end up requiring.
Fair enough.
And Monsieur Knight is more concerned with what is appropriate at this exact moment. It is unfortunately a situation that is all too common.
Yeah.
If we were to view it immediately as an attack, that would be one thing, but we have no way to know if it is. If it were, then all resources would certainly be behind the hunting of such an individual. But at this point, we should be grateful that we still have Femi to end up finding ourselves attached to, Monsieur Knight.
Oh, I was just
Yes.
thinking of breaking some kneecaps, so nothing too serious. But
Yeah. I think
I'm
I'm the
glad
only one that has skin in that game, but I appreciate your concern.
I'm glad to hear she's doing well.
Is there anything that we have need of doing tonight, or
Maintenant, the other two, the newcomer and Mademoiselle Deja, are currently making all the racket in the world. I am sure they will awaken somebody in the neighborhood, and there will be noise complaints and all manner of headache thereafter. But once they are fini, be less of a problem. Besides, the home is used to having strange noises. I hope that that at least serves as a further masking of our truest intent.
You
what
almost
do
hear
you
a
two have?
creak.
Oh, sorry.
I was just saying that you almost hear a creak in the floorboards upstairs. You're not sure if in agreement or if in vengeance.
Let's look up and. Well, what do you two have on the agenda for tonight? If it is appropriate for me to ask so.
Well, I had nothing specific in mind, but I thought I'd take a bit of a walk.
Perhaps in Baron Kane's direction.
No, I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking maybe down sorry, I'm just trying to find the name of it. Down Sixth. Maybe I can find a little bit of real estate for us in the neutral zone.
Hmm.
I don't know about you guys, but with helping out Deja with her pig farm, I've taken a little bit of a hit to my finances. I'd like to get that sorted out quick smart.
Liquid capital is always a huge boon.
Well, the world does run on money.
That unfortunately is one of the things it runs on, yes.
Mortals are much easier to buy off than anything else.
True.
Is this
As
something
for
that you would? Oh, sorry. Is this something that you can do on your own, or would you like company?
I mean, I wouldn't mind a bit of company.
Okay. I have one pit stop I need to make before, but I would be happy to go with you.
perhaps Monsieur Knight can end up making heading out to end up doing his errand. We can end up doing the same and prepare ourselves to end up joining Mademoiselle Cosetta on her wish to end up scouting out new prospects.
Sounds like a plan to me. There's no rush. As far as I can see, our night is our own.
If only that were true. I will also be making a stop later on this evening, but at least for the early portion of it, I am at your disposal. To the both of you.
Mm.
Well, if any of you ever need a hand with anything, all you need to do is give me a yell.
If I were got to the point of yelling Mademoiselle Cosetta, we have gone well past the point of no return.
Fair enough point.
But
There's
Mon-
a
oh,
there's actually a glance that Pax passes to Yvette as she says that.
there's a small nod of acknowledgement, but almost trying to end up keeping herself, what would the word be? More composed. Monsieur Knight, we will give you appropriate contact when after you are ready. Simply
Right.
contact Mademoiselle Cosetta and we will be nearby.
Would I notice anything different about Yvette? Would I notice the new ring? Is she still openly wearing it?
She's still openly wearing it. She's not hiding it.
Hold on, let me. Do you, ST, do you mind if I make a roll to see if I notice it?
If she's not hiding it, then you notice it.
Okay. And I was meaning to ask. I don't want to pry, but that. I take it your date went well last night.
I don't think she mentioned anything about a date.
I
She just
think.
simply said she was going out. She
Well, I
has never
think you.
once made reference to her entire feeding type.
Well, I was thinking you hit me up for money for it to make
Ah, yeah,
arrangements.
right, right. Okay, so you would have gotten the bill,
Yep, you would have gotten the
Yeah.
bill,
but
and it was
I don't think she would have told you exactly what it was for.
Okay.
pretty exorbitant. Fairly high class restaurant. Uh, ta-
Limousine,
limousine rental,
tailoring.
tailored clothing, kind of the works for
Yes.
an evening.
It went well enough to end up preserving my masquerade.
So I'll just get thoughtful for a second and think. Well, hopefully it accomplished what you needed. I am. He'll look at the ring and just kind of get a smirk on his face, and at least hoping you're happy.
My happiness is never something that need be concerned of this coterie. I will rarely end up making my business yours. As if I must, then I know that it is serious. I
Understood.
would rather you end up focusing on the needs of our domain, our landlord, Baron, and your own personal errands. I am simply here to assist.
Okay, as you wish. And also, I'll just make my goodbyes and go out and get prepared for my evening.
All right.
Mademoiselle Cosetta, if you would join me. She pulls her off to the side of the room.
Yeah, of course.
As Alistair is leaving the house entirely.
Before I go, I would probably pick out a book or two for my sister to read. And sorry.
No
No,
worries.
it is quite all right. At that point, Yvette pulls out a chair, and the Pax would end up seeing that she draws her pistol, extends, or the gestures for Mademoiselle Cosetta to take a seat, and she is probably more than aware of this, what is quickly becoming a ritual between the two of them.
You're still reluctant, Pax. You're worried about how it'll interfere with what Boss Hernandez thinks of you.
We're not getting sound.
You're muted, yeah. I do not hear any sound from you.
Oh no.
She's not muted on Discord, so there's something else
Did the
going
Oh
on.
mic
no.
finally die?
Oh no. Oh,
Oh no.
that would be
Oh no.
big sad.
Yeah.
Hello, I hear
We can
you.
barely hear you, but we can hear you.
Okay.
There we are.
Um, so Pax, she takes a seat, tilts her head back, and while she's apprehensive, the less blood that I need to take from Boss Hernandez, the less strain that puts on him. I feel like he's gonna need all the help he can get in the next few months, particularly with this meeting that's coming up. He's gonna need to be in good straits.
I have to apologize ahead of time, Mademoiselle Cosetta. I cannot offer him much this evening, but it hopefully will be enough to keep the edge off, at least for the time being.
Not too concerned,
Fantastic.
Frenchie.
And it's at that point she will end up biting into her own wrist and be sure to end up keeping it a safe distance away from the gaping jaws of Mademoiselle Cosetta, drip feeding her, forcing the blood from the wound, dripping into the mouth of Mademoiselle Cosetta as she rests her head back upon the barrel of a pistol like one would a pillow.
She takes a single dot.
And with that, Yvette licks the wound
And
and
Yvette,
seals it.
your beast hates that you're willingly giving this up. Willingly thinning your own supply. For what? She's a nuisance. A liability. She knows too much.
While Pax's head is still back on the barrel of this pistol, she says, I have a concern to raise to you.
I am sorry that it has left you with concerns, she says after she licks the wound.
Do you know what it is I'm asking about?
I deal in specifics. The more specific you are, the easier it is to answer answering your question.
Well, last night you gave a name to Mr. Green. That name, I'm assuming, is the same name that put that rock on your finger.
It is something that I have chosen. We.
I'm concerned that
He may
Mr.
go
Rock on
after them.
Finger. Yeah, exactly. And that leaves you open.
It is the gamble. However, it also means that should he end up doing so, it turns into a distraction upon our coterie, which turns into a distraction that will end up pulling away from Boss Hernandez, as well as jeopardize the interests of Monsieur Kane. Baron Kane, who is aware of him, perhaps he's keeping an eye out. He has not renounced his claim of being Camarilla, and as such, is on thin ice, shall we say. I think that is the expression Americans use. And
Sounds
so,
about
if he wishes to end up doing something about it, it risks pulling in not one but two major powers in the city to be inconvenienced. And given what Boss Hernandez is currently doing, well, that will end up leading to complications that no side wishes to end up dealing with. It also means that Monsieur, his point would be irrelevant. That the Anarchs are no place for Ventru, and yet he has done everything he can to end up avoiding or about making sure that is the case. As such, it is a difficult road for him to end up navigating. We are both tied by the same rules. And so I must end up doing my duty to you and the coterie. And he must abide by the rules he is set forth by Baron Kane. And both of which are here with heavy concern for Don Hernandez. Nobody wishes to stir the pot at this exact time, as it does not benefit anyone.
I think he might be hungry enough for you to take the risk. That's why I raise it as a point.
She uncocks the pistol, turns the safety back on, and puts it back in her shoulder holster. It is a thought. But now you are made aware of it. You need not say anything, you simply need to observe when he has interfered with your interests and the interests of Bost Hernandez. And given that I am assisting you, that now turns into his interests, is it not? Oui.
Accurate.
So, his safety and the safety of those involved are tied into how useful of I am to yourself, the coterie, Baron Kane, and Boss Hernandez. If I become a detriment, then all is lost. So I must end up making it a point to end up staying ahead of the curve. We.
Yeah.
It would be unfortunate for Boss Hernandez or for you to end up losing access to well, for you to end up losing access to feeding. I am sure the past few nights have been easier on that front, and you would not like to go back to hoping Boss Hernandez has fed that previous night. I'm sure the guilt is more difficult than I know.
Yeah. I
You
just,
do you feel guilty when you have to ask him, don't you?
I feel grateful.
When he offers.
Yes.
But when you must have, that is a different moment to be.
There have been a couple of times in the past, Bex, that you've more or less had to get on your hands and knees and beg.
It's not easy to keep someone like me. I'm sure you're starting to realize that.
Yes, most certainly.
So, just like you said about keeping yourself useful, I got to do the same.
It is a situation I am all too familiar with. Well, I am going to attempt to feed, get myself ready for anything that the evening may go, and we will then go about to find your new little slice of heaven.
Well, if you need me, you know what.
If you wish to accompany me upon a hunt, I would be honored, Mademoiselle Cosetta.
In which case, I will happily lend you a hand.
All right. And so you're prowling around your little domain. How are you going about feeding, Miss Yvette?
I am leaning into my predator type.
Okay. Which is Cleaver. So you.
Manipulation, subterfuge, +1 for assist. I'm pretty sure at this point Mademoiselle Pax has at least one dot in subterfuge and
Yes.
specialty.
Yes. And so you start prowling around the immediate neighborhood around your house, looking for that opportune moment to chat up one of your neighbors. And the pair of you come out of the house, and the neighborhood chats with you, having seen you come from this house multiple times now, that they're curious as to whether the hauntings are true. They're curious as to whether or not the house is going to look any nicer. You hear one individual woman kind of sneer at that fact. So, make your roll.
Ooh, that is nice.
Ooh, delicious. Delicious. So you find the opportune moment. You're not entirely sure why, but you feel you feel a little drawn to a particular person in this little neighborhood. Name kind of rings a bell. Not entirely sure where you heard it before, but you're fairly certain this is a person that's maybe been influenced you in a little bit of an indirect, influenced by you in a little bit of an indirect sort of way. So because this is a crit, you will be getting your preference as a Ventrue.
Wait.
Somehow, this person has been influenced by you directly. I'll let you decide who this is.
I believe he once ended up saying his name is Jeff. I believe this was a. I believe at one point it was when I was starting to do my rounds and getting more acquainted with the neighborhood. Had something to end up doing with the car almost falling over him. I ended up grabbing hold of it and gave him enough time to slip out. Though it did end up costing blood to end up rousing it to have the strength to end up keeping the car from falling directly on him. The jack had suddenly slipped out. None the reason, perhaps the spirit of our own house's larger influence than we suspect, or maybe he was just incompetent. But I managed to end up having him avoid harm. As such, I have made it a point to keep him in mind, but I am still integrating amongst the neighborhood. Oftentimes, I come across as a plucky entrepreneur. I end up talking about security, though I'm sure many of them believe I install cameras or something along those lines. They're maybe aware that I also end up doing some side business, but operate mostly when all the bigwigs want to end up making a showing, and that is rarely past office hours. Well, that is commonly past office hours. Pardon, English is difficult. At that point, I will end up taking 2 points, and that will end up doing for the evening.
And just as Dale melts in your arms when you feed from him, Jeff also melts at your touch. The euphoria of the kiss, it's overwhelming for most. And when you finish drinking your fill for the moment, you continue the conversation as if nothing had really happened, and continue to make your rounds briefly through the rest of the neighborhood, just so you keep appearances.
It is all about appearance.
Takes roughly about an hour and a half between all of the mingling, the feeding, the getting to know of the neighbors, between yourself and Pax. It's probably closer to about 10 o'clock now.
And at that point, I think it would be best to get ready to end up meeting up with Monsieur Knight and have Mademoiselle Cosetta lead us to where it is they were planning on setting up shop.
Indeed. But for the moment, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Mr. Knight, you are headed to your family home. The home in which your sister resides. The place where you know your father and mother also reside.
Yes.
What are some of your thoughts? Because you know that you're likely to run into them too. What are your thoughts going towards this house?
Well, I think on the way I would stop at my sister's favorite pizza place and get a pizza or two for to not show up empty-handed. Even though that'll probably piss my father off, he thinks it's junk food. Anything for my sister, though. I think it's probably going to be an unpleasant experience overall for me, but as I said, I would do anything for her, and I want to make sure that she is settled in and okay, that she does not need anything. I, I'm sure that she is fine, but till I see it with my own eyes, I don't really trust it.
You pick up a pizza or two. It smells rather nice, though you know that this will never satisfy your hunger again.
A shame. I miss wings. Hot wings, those were my favorite.
Ah, yes, but any hot wings you take into your mouth these nights, as you've no doubtedly tried, just melt into ash and taste of dust. Dry and unedible. Disgusting, really. No, the
It's a
thing on
shame.
your mind is the juicy innards of the pizza guy around the counter. I wonder what his blood tastes like. Does his blood taste like pizza?
Hmm.
Pepperoni. What you wouldn't give for a slice of pepperoni.
Yes.
He's worked in so much in the industry of pizza. He must taste like it.
Hmm. Is he working the shop alone tonight?
There are others who are in the kitchen prepping pizzas. He's the one at the counter tonight.
Hmm.
Seems to recognize your face as a somewhat usual, but maybe hadn't seen you in a while.
Well, I am feeling a little hungry. Maybe I'll flirt with him a little bit and see if there's any interest there.
And the flirting, no. But you could always try other means.
No, I would just, it was a errant thought. Just an opportunity. And, I'd grab, you know, that and a bottle of soda and the usual and just, head to my parents' house.
And to your family home you go. Pizza, very hot in hand. The door of the home is in front of you at this time.
Oh, it's time the blush of life. Small success. Thankfully, I do not get any hungrier.
No, but your body, the vitae that lies dormant in your veins starts to cycle through your body and supernaturally produce a like warmth to that of a living creature. The subtle, possibly undying beating of a heart, the imitation of breathing from lungs that no longer function, You no longer have to think of such things as the blood supernaturally powers these things at this time, having willed it to do so. And you stand before the door, now flush to skin, piping hot pizzas in hand, in front of a not garishly rich home, but a relatively nice home in a nice neighborhood. Your father does rather well with the salary he makes, being a tenured professor at the university, and with that job secured, and mostly doing pretty well for himself, he could afford a somewhat nice, if a little large, two-story home. A home you grew up in, though. So it is a little dated, but it is still nice. He's been keeping up with the trends on making the exterior look as nice as possible. Puts a lot of work into this house.
Yes, appearances were always something that he cared about. But let's get this over with. I'd walk up and ring the doorbell.
After a moment, the door opens and reveals an older woman, your mother, Isabel. She smiles, the sort of light wrinkles in her face kind of deepening from the smile as she grins at you. Alistair.
Hello, Mother.
How are you?
I am as well as can be expected. I brought a get well soon present for my sister. Is she awake still, or is she resting?
No, come in, come in, come in. It's been a while since you've been home.
Yes, I do apologize for that. But work has kept me busy, and you know how things are.
Yes, always such a professional.
I try to be. How have you been, Mother?
I've been all right. Been keeping busy. Different things. Been looking after Michelle, obviously, the last few days.
Yes. So, should we go see her? I brought you all some pizza
Oh,
from
you
her
could set.
favorite place.
Yeah, you can set that on the counter. We'll dig into that in a little bit, and I'll go get her. Okay?
Okay. I'll go to the kitchen and start pulling out some plates and plating up some pizza for them, making drinks, and just getting the table ready for them while she goes and gets my sister.
Okay. And when she comes back, you do see that your sister comes, but also your father as well, from the hallway. And Michelle kind of, with her casted arm, kind of jogs over towards you and says, "Twice in a week? Oh my God, it's a record."
Hmm. Well, I wanted to make sure that you were settled in. I brought you a couple of get well soon presents since you might be laid up for a while.
Oh my God, you didn't.
Yeah, I went to Romeo's. It is, I got your favorite.
My favorite. You know, it's an odd concoction, right? For no one asks for onion and pineapple on a pizza together.
Like I said, I got you a get well soon present. You get your favorite.
Onion and pineapple. You hear your father kind of scoff at that a little bit. It's I've never understood that mixture, Michelle. It's that's disgusting.
I got a normal pepperoni pie for those who did not want it. But, please, everyone, dig in. And I'll reach into my, like, side satchel and pull out the two books and here, these were supposedly popular with the, uh, people within our demographic right now. They're supposed to be good books. I, figured I'd, let, you decide if they were worth it or not, if, we should keep carrying them.
You want my opinion for the store?
Why not? I figured it would give you a good chance to read and, you know,
Remember, I told you I'm always on the go. Audiobooks are the best thing. She kind of giggles and goes towards the kitchen to go and take a plate for herself and some pizza.
yes, well, if I remember right, it comes with a code for the audiobook as well, but, um,
Is this a used copy? Because that might have already been redeemed.
no, it's a fresh copy. I made sure of it.
Oh, well, look at you.
And I'll sit down and I'll grab a slice of pizza and take a bite, knowing that I'm going to have to deal with it later.
It is ash in your mouth and disgusting. And your mother and father also sit at the table and kind of chat you up with some small talk. The sort of sort of usual, more or less
How have you
professional
been?
household conversations that one has with a stranger, not with a family member. But Michelle is definitely happy to have you around.
Yes. I'll look over at my parents and. So, mother, father, how have you two been? I know your anniversary is coming up. Is, there anything that you would like?
Not particularly, no, your father says to you.
Just have a big smile on my face, trying to be as pleasant as possible.
Not unless you can afford some kind of vacation for us for our anniversary. I'm sure that your delightful little adjunct professor position and the dinky little shop that you own would be able to cover a sort of cruise to the Bahamas. Would it not?
I'll look over at my mother. Now, would you like to go to the Bahamas for your anniversary?
Why are you asking this, Alistair? Really? Like, I don't understand why you have to be so standoffish. Your family here.
I know. I am trying.
You call me mother, you don't call me mom anymore.
Well, I've grown up a little bit.
That means
Doesn't mean that I still don't love you. It just things evolve. They relationships, people.
You say mother out of spite. Everybody I know who does that says it out of spite.
No. If I was spiteful, I would not be talking to you. I would not be offering a anniversary gift. I am simply trying to
Trying to what? Your father says. Make up for the
keep the
fact that you're not
peace.
around.
Keep the peace, as they say.
Of course. It's always about keeping the peace. It's never about.
Well,
Michelle, will you go to
I,
your room? And she just kind of looks a little confused. What? Why? What?
I think Father wants to have a word with me in private. I'll just look at her and give her a wink.
Fine. She takes takes her plate of pizza and goes and kind of saunters off to her room.
Alright,
And
Father, let's have it.
oh, come on, you two, don't fight. Your mother says, just kind of raising her hands in a bit of defeated sort of gesture because she knows how this ends. She knows the routine. She knows that this happens every single time you come over. And she's she looks done. No, I completely understand why it is he came. He came to see Michelle. He did not come to see us. The fact that you're even presenting an idea where you want to pay for a vacation for our anniversary is insulting.
To you, maybe. All feelings aside, I still care about this family. Whether you believe that or not is really of no consequence to me right now. I care very much that my mother and my sister are happy. No matter what problems me and you have, that will never change.
Right, because you have to be the noble son.
Isn't that what you wanted, Father?
You to have a spine. We all know that the only reason that you're here is Michelle. The fact that you even refer to me as father and not dad anymore, and your mother as mother and not mom anymore, is a signifier that you have distanced yourself to the point where you don't want that anymore. Which is fine. I can maintain a professional relationship with you, son. But don't you dare come into my house and insult me.
Taking offense when none was given. As I
You were
said,
here clearly from Michelle. You did not want us, didn't want us. So why toy around with the idea?
you think I only come here for her.
You clearly don't come here from me.
That may be. But, as I said, I care for Mother, and I care for my sister. Our problems aside, That's something that we can't get over in one night.
Well, maybe you'll have your delightful blonde friend come to your rescue again. Is she outside?
No, I came here alone. I do not need backup to deal with the family.
Oh, it's a shame. I really liked her.
Surprising.
Surprising.
Yes, you usually have a sour outlook on most people that I deal with.
She hasn't given me a reason to.
I don't think she will. She is truly a professional person.
Much as you are.
If I learned anything, it is how to be that. But it is getting late. I will say goodbye to Michelle. I'll walk over and kiss my mom on the top of the head and say, just because I don't call you mom doesn't mean I don't care. Never think that.
It's hard when you don't call, Al.
I know. I will try to be better about keeping in contact.
And your mother gets up from the table and she starts to clean up the kitchen, kind of busying herself with that for a little bit.
And I'll start walking, like before I turn to walk to my sister's room, I'll just look at my father and say, well, have a pleasant evening.
You as well.
And I'll walk to my sister's room.
And she is, in fact, kind of thumbing through the book as she's kind of munching on a slice of pizza just to kind of get an idea of what the book is that the books are that you've given her, and she kind of doesn't pay attention even when you open the door.
I would knock first. The days of us just bursting into each other's room probably ended at teenage years.
With a mouthful, she ushers you to come in.
Hey, sis.
Hey, I was actually rather quiet compared to other times.
Yes, well, you know how things are. It'll be okay. I just wanted to say goodbye before I left and see
Already?
if you needed anything.
You asked me that hundreds of times yesterday.
I worry. I fuss. It will never change. Get used to it.
Weirdo.
Yes. So, I'm sorry. I will try to make a habit of coming over here at least every couple weeks. I won't let it go as long as the couple months it was.
I mean, I don't have a car anymore, so I guess I'm not randomly grabbing coffee with you on weekdays or whatever. When we can be out of the house, not have to deal with Dad.
We'll figure something out. I might be able to find something for you.
Not if
It
you're gonna
won't
pay for
be.
a trip to the Bahamas for Mom and Dad.
Well, I don't know if they really want that from me. So, we'll see.
You offered, so he's gonna hold you to it.
Frankly, like usual, I don't really care what he tries to hold me to. It's you and Mother that I care about.
Why can't things go back to normal, Al?
I can't just live under his thumb. He says he wants me to have a spine, but when I show it, I'm just the rude, disrespectful son that he hates.
He doesn't hate you.
Well,
Like, how could any parent hate their kid? You notice that she's getting a little quieter as she's talking to you.
I don't know, but like I always tell you, things will be okay. And if you ever need anything, I'm just a phone call away.
I mean, same. You could call more than once a month.
I will. Like I said, I will try to keep in touch. I made that promise to Mother as well. And you know me, if nothing else, I try to keep my word.
Okay.
Yes, and do tell me how you like those books. They do have quite the fandom. I believe they called it the Locked Tomb series. They,
Never heard of it before.
no. But it was something like that.
Well, I'll
But
give it a try.
have a good night.
You too.
He'll walk over. Even though she hates it, he'll give her a kiss on the top of the head.
Stop.
And see you next time.
Don't be a
And
stranger.
I won't. And I would head out to my car.
You enter your car.
I'll pull my phone out and dial Pax's number.
Pax, you get a ring on your phone.
She answers it promptly. Yo,
My business is concluded. Where would you like to meet?
how about on 6th?
That I can do. I'll see you
Watch the
soon.
park.
What was that? Sorry.
Watch the parking.
Hmm. That is going to be a bitch. And I'll just hang up the phone and start heading to 6th Street.
All right. You hang up. And as all of you kind of drive in your own vehicles, making your way towards the downtown long center street of Austin, Texas, the very long strip called 6th Street goes from one end of the city to the other, lined with bars, with restaurants, with all sorts of everything that one can find for entertainment purposes. Minding that you are mostly staying on Baron Kane's side of things, that should you cross directly over, it is possible that anyone from the other barony, Baron Santos, might get wind of it. And just from the brief things that you've heard in passing from different conversations that you've overheard between all of you, she's no slouch.
Well, As far as I know, 6th Street is neutral ground. So best place to work from, especially when it comes to establishing a business.
Correct me if I'm wrong,
Hmm.
but when we talked about this with someone, they said it would probably be best if we set up just off of 6th Street. Because 6th Street, there was a complication because of this.
Yes, because actually setting up a business and actually maintaining something like that from a kindred standpoint is, in a sense, declaring that that particular business is your turf. And if that is declared turf, it's technically not a neutral zone.
Yes. So I would bring this up with Pax. We might want to look down the side streets in Baron Kane's area for something that we could catch off, uh,
Do I
catch the
know,
overflow.
just out of curiosity,
Hmm.
do I know where the particular domain lines are with Baron Kane and Boss Hernandez?
Boz Hernandez doesn't necessarily maintain domain lines with Baron Kane. He's more interested in the sort of turf delineations of the mortal gangs of the city. And so you'll have three or four pieces of larger territory that are generally claimed by the gangs in the town, and some of them do run through Sixth Street. Same with Boss Hernandez's people, um, but no kindred dealings happen on Sixth Street for to the best of your knowledge, because obviously Don Hernandez does not share the depths of his dealings, but as far as he's concerned, he's more concerned with the mortal gangs of the city than he is with even kindred territory. To be honest, he could care less about what Santos and Kane are fighting over.
Okay. So she's going to keep in mind those mortal gangs, particularly the ones that maybe Boss Hernandez does not want toes stepped on,
Mm-hmm.
and their lines when she's picking out areas for them to look into, uh,
Okay.
along with Baron Kane's dominion.
Okay. Then I'm going to call for an intelligent streetwise. Because as you're going up and down the streets and you're seeing tags and the different delineations of the mortal gangs as well as the kindred markings that you know of, you're looking for the perfect spot. It is going to be a
Any
high
modifier?
difficult. If you have specialties in streetwise, or if your
No.
or if your coterie mates have streetwise and can help.
I
Up
do
to
not have
them.
streetwise.
Alistair doesn't. Does Yvette have streetwise?
No.
Nope. So you're
Okay.
on your own, Pax. You're the one who knows the most about all of this.
Uh, I would like to willpower that.
You can willpower.
Yeah. Oh, better.
Better, but finding that
Not quite
perfect
enough.
spot is hard. Finding that perfect little spot is hard indeed, because you're looking on this specific side of the street. You're looking for something that isn't claimed by one of Don Hernandez's enemies, and you're trying to find something that might be affiliated with some of your own people, and it's just,
Or something that's not affiliated at all.
yeah. You were hoping best case scenario not affiliated at all, but anything that seems a little back alley ish seems to be already claimed.
What the fuck is with this city?
Alright.
Alistair and
Claim is a bit difficult.
Alistair and Yvette, you have no idea what it is she's looking for.
So, like, I'm trying not to step on any toes with when I pick where I'm going, right? We don't want to step on the Baron's toes. She says that rather lowly. And I don't want to step on the boss's toes. So I got to keep an eye on the street gangs. And I'm limited by the Baron's barony, which makes things a little bit interesting. Slim pickings, if you will.
I believe then I can assist with that.
What do you mean?
My intention is to discuss with Baron Kane recent incidents, and as such, I can end up taking that time to perhaps inquire as to the very nature of Sixth Street and what it is that is permissible in the sidelines. You, on the other hand, can perhaps go to Zidane and be able to end up finding where you may find permission to operate, perhaps within one of his own. You need not worry about confrontation of recent gang activity if you are a known element upon the turf that you has been acquiesced unto you.
Fair point. I did try bringing that up to the Don before, but he might not have understood my request.
I am sure that is it. Unless you wish to end up simply taking the gambit.
I mean, a roll of the dice.
I am. Well, perhaps it is simply a matter of understanding where it all ends up stemming from. Sixth Street is neutral territory, and Yvette's clearly distracted as she is observing people walking about, perhaps observing the possibility of other kindred, or maybe other threats to her coterie mates while they are upon Sixth Street.
Generally, a lot of the populace seems to be walking back and forth between different shops, bars, restaurants. If you're looking for someone who might be causing trouble, then it's going to be a high difficulty wits and awareness.
I am simply keeping my eyes out, but I will make the roll nevertheless. There, so we will just use wits awareness stock. Ooh,
Okay. Okay.
I am going to. I'm gonna let that stand.
Okay. Something feels a little off about the area, vet. Those hairs on the back of your neck that would kind of tingle up when you were mortal almost seem to do so a little bit, even in your dead state. The You look around this night covered sky, the night life going between the different buildings and settings and things of that sort. Something draws your attention, and your fangs subconsciously pop. You stare down the street, and with almost sort of Hawkeye's vision, you can see that a particular individual You're not familiar with any of the sort of iconography that he's tattooed with, but he definitely makes a show of his tattoos. Your eyes catch something about them. Something about them seems cartel in nature, and you're not sure why. Maybe it's something out of a
I
movie you've seen recently?
perhaps I simply end up giving a quick back of the hand to get Pax's attention to her elbow, just kind of tapping it lightly, my eyes never leaving the individual. But she can see it clearly that something has Yvette's attention.
And Yvette's gaze has gone from the the sort of demure, sort of professional that she usually keeps the air about her. No, instead, her eyes, her fangs, everything about her is predatory in nature. She's watching her prey in this moment, Pax, and you could see it written all over her face. Fangs and all.
Bit obvious, Frenchy. And she follows Yvette's gaze. Does Pax recognize the individual or any of the iconography on this individual?
You look over, and I do believe that you have fairly high senses. Yes, you have heightened senses, or do you have sense the unseen?
I have sense the unseen.
Sense the unseen's not going to benefit you in this moment, but you also get that slight little hair raising on the back of your neck, almost as if you can, almost as if you can sense what it is that Yvette's feeling right now. That's sort of you're sort of dialed in to Yvette right now, and something you actually make me another intelligence plus streetwise.
Any modifiers?
Nope. This is just based off of your knowledge. Mexican cartel. You can tell. There's a specific patch in the tattoo work on this guy's sleeve tattoo. There's a specific point where you look at it and you're certain that this guy is he's no slouch. Might be highly ranked, might be somebody who's killed a bunch of people. You're not entirely sure from this distance, but some clear marking in the tattoo work signifies he's business.
Now, knowing what I know, is he is he on his own turf or is he poking in somebody else's?
Generally speaking, from the little knowledge that you do know of how Don Hernandez works, is that cartel people don't stick around. They're in and they're out for one job or another.
But
And
he's hanging around six.
he's hanging around 6th Street. Seems to be minding his own business, having a conversation with another person.
The other person he's talking to, do I have any kind of recognition on them? Do they wear any markings or anything different?
They seem to be just normal person in street clothes. From what you can tell, they're not making an exchange of any kind. You're not seeing any secretive dealings between the two of you, or the two of them rather, and between the two of your eyes. You're you're not sure why exactly though that Yvette and by proxy you are on edge about this guy though.
I'm gonna take a little bit of a feel out. I'm gonna use my premonition. Something's not right here.
Okay, you may rouse for it.
Oops. Yes. Forgot about the promise.
That's fine. That's where you needed to be anyway for the because the rouse and the uptick in hunger goes after the roll anyway.
I'm just laughing because I'm the one who's always paying for all these checks, and Pax is getting a little laissez-faire when it comes down to premonition. I gotta pay for it.
She recognizes. She just uses it. That's just what she does.
I know.
She's
Exactly.
highly reliant on it.
Yep. Are you leaving it at 3?
Do I want to push it? I'll push it with a willpower.
Do you? Okay.
I'll roll those other 3.
Mm-hmm.
Nah.
Derek dice.
Well, the reroll Derek dice.
Have your dice back.
Derek dice have been critting tonight, so I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't get much more than that, Pax. You kind of watch him. You kind of look and see if there's anything off about him. And when you kind of reach into that sort of web of inky blackness that you the only factor that you get back from any answers that you might have from that is a vague sort of image. You're fairly certain that what you're seeing are the blurred images of people, but they don't move. They're still. They're unmoving. And almost like a spot in the middle of all this. You try to focus and it doesn't clear up. But there's like this inky black sort of spot in the middle of it all.
She kind of just leans into Yvette a little bit, and she just says, "Cartel."
Yvette ends up pulling her fangs back into place. Are we to use this as the start of our investigation?
What do you mean?
You wanted to end up knowing who and what is actually involved. We end up seeing cartel.
Cartel don't usually hang around. They're kind of in and out, and that's it. It's a bit weird to see him here.
It is concerned to me only if it is concerned to you. You notice Yvette's eyes don't leave this individual, though.
She sort of stares at him unblinking.
What's got you so on edge?
I look for threats, I identify them, and I observe them. This is what I do.
So he's a threat.
I am simply making you aware, and perhaps something could be done with it. If not, then I will end up going forth and trying to get a hold of Monsieur Kane.
Pax takes another glance over at this cartel member. Is he still in that conversation?
Seems to be finishing it up. Kind of, he seems to give the person a bit of a pat on the shoulder, and uh, it's almost as if they're they're like they're walking away smiling as if they're like buddies or something. And this this person from the cartel, he's kind of wearing a tank top, a sort of denim jacket that's had the arms ripped off of it. He's wearing some jeans. He's kind of got kind of a solid beard on him, but his hair is kind of pulled back into a very kind of nubby ponytail.
Even criminals have friends and family. Still, it's a bit weird.
This is your operation, Mademoiselle Cosetta. Monsieur Knight and moi are simply escorting you and doing what we must to end up seeing your success. How would you like to approach this?
Not even sure it's worth approaching.
Very well. Then it would be as you say. Then I will begin my route to see what I can end up learning about what is capable around 6th Street to end up being sure that we remain available to the kindred who require it, while also benefiting Monsieur Kane's small piece of the pie.
All right. Uh, I need to make a quick phone call.
Monsieur Knight, will you accompany Mademoiselle Cosetta?
If you wish.
It would be unsightly to end up knowing that she has been left to her own devices without some degree of aid. Besides, I think you may be able to learn from her.
I have a lot to learn in a lot of aspects.
Something on your mind in particular, Monsieur Knight?
Oh, it's just a long night. Don't concern yourself with me. I will be fine.
If that is how you wish it, then that is how it shall be. Au revoir et bonsoir.
Safe travels.
Thanks, Yvette.
I will come back with news shortly.
I appreciate it.
She gives a small nod and begins to end up making her way to her vehicle.
All right.
Shouldn't.
I'd like to make my way to my vehicle for a second as well.
All right.
I want to pull out a map and a pen and a ruler, and I want to go work with Pax to start drawing up territories so that we can narrow down where we can actually look and do a proper investigation of this.
When Pax is playing around on her phone, and when she sees him doing that, she frowns and she's like, "No, not on paper."
We can burn it after.
Uh, Pa, really?
No, never mind. I forgot.
Man, she dials in a number and hits the call button.
Mm-hmm.
and she would like to give uh, Julian a call.
Wonderful Mr. Julian. He answers with a swift hello.
Hey, Julian, how you doing?
Hey, sweet cheeks. How you doing too?
I'm getting there. Hey, I was just down on 6th Street
Uh-huh.
when I saw one of the runners.
Aha.
That's a bit weird. They're never on 6th Street.
Not for long, anyway.
Have you seen any or heard anything about anything like that?
Not any business I would discuss over the phone, really.
Perhaps we could set up a meeting.
Yeah, we can talk. Where do you want to talk?
Uh, how about we grab a coffee?
Coffee it is.
I'm bringing along Mr. Knott too.
He's the one I met the other night, isn't he?
Yeah, one of.
Right. Okay. Cool. Gonna want to chat privately, though.
All right.
See you then, kid.
See you then.
And he hangs up the phone. Mr. Knight, you were making a call as well. No, no, you went to your car and grabbed supplies, but then quickly realized that that's not a good idea. Yvette was making a call, though. Who are you calling?
I believe that it would be best to contact Monsieur Ball to end up getting hold of Monsieur Kane.
Monsieur Ball and Monsieur Kane. Mr. Ball is not a hard man to get a hold of. He's made it relatively easy for you and your coterie to get a hold of him quickly, should the need arise for it. And so, when you when you uh, you hear that very thick drawl that he has, much like Miss Cosetta does, in that he answers with a howdy.
Bonsoir, Monsieur Ball.
Ah, Yvette. How you
I
doing
was
tonight?
hoping. I am doing. Well, there is news that I would rather exchange in person,
Oh,
if that
okay.
is at all possible.
I make myself available to you and your friends as much as you need.
Merci. I give him instruction of a place to meet a little bit closer to the inroads, somewhere closer to the center of Monsieur Kane's domain, just to keep travel down in case we can establish a meeting. But when I end up doing so, I try to end up keeping the place we can talk in secret.
Mm.
There is news of my, she pauses, father, who has recently come into the city, and I thought it was something we may discuss.
That is certainly news. I can make time for that.
Fantastic. I will see you momentarily, I will hope.
I will be there as quick as a fiddle.
Merci. She hangs up. Quick as a fitter. Americans are strange.
Texans, especially.
Is there a difference?
And so, Yvette, you're on your way to go and see Mr. Ball. And Pax is on her way to go and see Mr. Julian. And we'll be back briefly. We'll be back in just a moment as these kindred kind of go their separate directions for a moment to make some inquiries about the different things that they've learned so far. So, we'll be back soon, everyone. Welcome back, everyone, to Austin by Starlight, Episode 8. Pax has called a good friend of hers, a good capo friend of hers, Julian Fredrickson. Someone that she relies on, confides in, possibly even looks up to, as a sort of made man, in a sense, in the city of Austin. The entailing with her is Alistair. Having, after this conversation's taken, after this meeting has been arranged, the two of them come to a little parking lot that is mostly empty in the middle of a sort of busy-ish industrial section of the city. And Pax, you would, according to the lines going through the city, kind of dangerously close to Santos's region in the south of the city. It's a little too close for comfort in some ways, but it also feels a little bit closer to home, as the evidence of spray paint and other such things have gone on here as well. And you're waiting for Julian to arrive, as you both came in your individual cars or together.
Pax would have showed up in her own vehicle. It's up to Alistair as to whether he wants to jump in with her.
He would probably take his own vehicle, just not leaving it behind. He didn't want to have to deal with it maybe getting towed on 6th Street.
God forbid, because towing prices are a bitch. Parking tickets even more so. So the two of you come to this little parking lot with your own separate vehicles. And shortly, probably 10 to 15 minutes after you both arrive and either get out of your cars or you don't, another set of 2 vehicles arrives.
Pax is at this point sitting up in her tray, swinging her legs off the edge and just watching.
Alistair would be leaned up against her car, just waiting, following her cues.
The first car, or both cars, stop in parking spaces, kind of facing towards you. And the first car, a man gets out, and it is in fact Julian, whom you are very familiar with, Pax.
She gives him a wave. I don't recognize the other vehicle's occupants.
Pretty sure you know who that is. And the other person gets out of the car, and wouldn't you know, probably the one person you did not want to see.
Ah. Evening, Father.
Good evening, he says from across the way.
Wasn't expecting to see you tonight.
And I wasn't expecting to see you.
Pax hops off of the tray and walks towards them, um, keeping more towards Julian.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks probably more reserved than Alistair has ever seen her. Like she's holding everything in.
Okay. Alistair would just kind of follow behind her, a couple steps behind.
And Julian puts a hand up towards Alistair. This was a private conversation, he says, looking to Pax, right?
Yeah, of course. Alistair, if you just want to wait by the car, I'll be back over in a moment.
As you wish. And Alistair will reach into his satchel and pull out a pair of earbuds and plug in the phone and go over and just kind of lean against the car, watching.
And so Julian pulls you aside, Pax, and starts walking with you a little bit towards a corner in the parking lot.
I had thought to bring to your attention uh, the I'm sorry. I really wasn't expecting to see.
I know, I get it. You're not.
Um,
I know what you've been through, okay? Just keeping a leash on him.
a leash.
Yeah. He's been arrested recently. So yeah, somebody's got to keep an eye on him so he doesn't snitch.
Him snitch.
I know, right?
Come on, Julian. You know he's not gonna snitch.
Thankfully, that hasn't happened yet, but boss's orders.
But boss thinks he's gonna snitch.
Boss thinks everybody's gonna snitch.
All right. I wouldn't ever think that he would. Beyond that, um, Purpose of my call. I was on 6th tonight and
Mhm.
caught sight of one of the sorry, I've lost my word. One of the runners.
Yeah, you said runners.
Yeah, the sorry, I've lost the word out of character too.
Cartel?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, one of the cartel members. His markings were high ranking. Gave me a bit of the heebie jeebies.
Well, fuck. We're supposed to lay low. But I guess now you're in on it. Recent shipments have been coming through from the border and through San Antonio into here.
Shipments.
Shipments.
Don't need explanation. Oh, so why was he out in the open like that? He was just running around, talking to people. Really obvious.
I mean, obvious to people in the biz, but
And any pigs looking in.
that's the problem I would have.
That's the problem that I thought I should raise.
It didn't happen to get a description, did you?
Uh, well, I saw him, so yeah. And she will describe what he looked like down to the beard and hair and what he was wearing and the markings on his arms.
Okay, yeah, I've met that guy before.
Anyone I should be keeping an eye out for?
Goes by the name Styx,
Sticks.
which is kind of ironic because he doesn't look like a stick. He's jacked.
Say that again.
But, I don't think the boss is going to be too happy. I'll report it, though. That's my job.
And my job is to bring it to your attention.
I appreciate it, Pax. I do.
Not a problem. Hey, while I'm here,
Mm-hmm.
I tried talking to the boss about it, but I don't think he really got my gist. I'm thinking of starting up a business, but I'm a little bit confused on the territories that I'm allowed to stick my toes in.
Okay. Can probably try and clarify some of that.
That would be amazing.
What you looking to do?
Oh, I was thinking maybe if I can put myself in as a silent partner somewhere.
Just legit.
Maybe. And then from there, if that works, I might look at doing a little bit of gambling, a little bit of things off to the side.
I don't know that Mario's going to be all that happy about a gambling ring on 6th.
Mario.
Mario
Uh,
Barrera. You know, the he's a... Surprised you haven't met him yet.
have I met him, Esty?
You have not, but you can do an intelligence streetwise to see if you know the name, or intelligence politics rather.
I will absolutely do that.
Mario Barrera. It's a common enough name, but when you start putting in some context between people that the boss knows, people that Julian knows, people that you know, and the crossing of the different lines, a specific Mario Barrera comes to mind. A Hakata soldier, in a way. He's he's not necessarily anyone of any kind of made note, but he is kind of working his way up the ranks, and his primary hustle is money laundering of all different types. And so when Julian says that gambling ring might not exactly be kosher in Mario's realm, you can probably understand why.
What about just off 6th?
What do you mean just off 6th?
I mean, like, not directly on 6th.
Did you have another location in mind? Just like a couple street down, or are you talking about north, south? What are we talking about here?
She'd explain the vague area that she's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Those little spots in the domain of Baron Kane without directly saying that.
Ah, okay. He kind of thinks about it for a moment. I honestly don't know who's running those areas at the moment, if they're being run by anybody at all.